Oh, man. Okay. I hate making polarizing videos like this, but we gotta do it. I know you're seeing Mortal Kombat 12 in your subscription feeds because I sure as hell am not the first person talking about this topic today. And what is this topic? Well, according to industry insider Jeff Grubb, NetherRealm Studios is currently working on Mortal Kombat 12 over Injustice 3 due to uncertainty with WB Games. Now, personally, I think this report kind of makes no sense, and we're going to talk about that. Also going to give a full breakdown of everything Jeff Grubb had to say about this rumor, because it's more than just, oh, he said they're working on MK12 instead of Injustice 3. Like, no, there's some pretty important details to discuss on why he's claiming that. Before we do, though, I want to say, read the warning sign I got going on here. Before you drop your cheeky little dislike, just know this is not confirmed information. We're simply going to be discussing and speculating. So before you murder my family like I'm related to Scorpion or subtweet me on Twitter, content creators, just know I am not confirming MK12. I'm talking about the rumor from yesterday. You feel me? You feel me. So with that said, now that I've hopefully covered my ass and I don't have a rough afternoon after I post this, let's get into it. So what exactly is going on? Yesterday there was this tweet from VideoGameChronicle.com that blew up, and the report was a report on what Jeff Grubb, credible, reputable, over like a decade of experience with journalism and gaming, came out on the Giant Bomb podcast yesterday morning and dropped a bomba! Big bomb, Woj bomb. This time it was for MK12. He said, hey, I'm here and NetherRealm Studios is working on MK12 instead of Injustice 3 because they do not know what's going on with WB. Kind of just gotta paraphrase for the time being before I show the quotes. He was saying that the reason that they're doing this is because the whole WB Games Discovery merge that we talked about on my channel for over a year now, which again is why I think this claim makes no sense, because what he's saying is NetherRealm is working on MK12 because they don't want to be caught working on Injustice 3, maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 months down the line. Then WB Games goes and sells the studio to, for instance, Microsoft or something. Now the studio is stuck working on Injustice 3, but they don't have the rights because WB owns the rights to these DC characters. And now you have a studio who has to get the property signed off by their old owners, and it just makes a tedious situation, whereas they could just work on Mortal Kombat 12 right now, a game that's guaranteed to be a hit because the last one is the most successful selling one, I think, ever now. So MK12 is a guarantee sell. They don't have to worry about licensing problems with WB and the DC characters, and they could just sell that underneath their new parent company umbrella, like underneath Microsoft, Activision, Sony, etc. And I understand the debate, but what I'm kind of confused is, a month ago, we got a report from WB saying that NetherRealm Studios was nowhere going to get sold, and they were going to be there for the foreseeable future. So this report from yesterday kind of conflicts everything, not to mention that I'm pretty sure that WB also owns licensing rights to, you guessed it, Mortal Kombat just as much as they own the rights to DC characters, because I'm pretty sure back in 2008-9 when Midway Games was bought by WB after bankruptcy, they bought the rights of Mortal Kombat, and they just got the skeleton of Midway Games and created their new studio off the old Midway team. So from a whole licensing issuing perspective, I don't see how this is any different than if they were working on Injustice 3, because WB still owns the rights to Mortal Kombat, unless when they sell NetherRealm, they also sell the rights of, you guessed it, Mortal Kombat with NetherRealm Studios, and that would kind of like be the enticing factor for a company like Microsoft or Sony. Like, hey, not only can you buy the studio from us at WB, but we'll also sell you the rights to Mortal Kombat with the studio too. So in that regard, I can kind of see where this does make some sense. Now, before I keep going off on a tangent here, again, I'm so sorry this video is all over the place. Here are the actual quotes from Jeff Grubb. I paraphrased all this video, but here are the quotes. He says, it lines up with the reality, it lines up with what I've heard, where Mortal Kombat 12 would make the most sense because that's a game they know will make money, it will sell well. Mortal Kombat 11 was great, it's doing well, but if you come out with Mortal Kombat 12, it will also sell well and do well. At the same time, you don't have to use any of these Batman or Superman characters that might be tied up in licensing if you try to get rid of NetherRealm or sell it to whoever. So, again, I can see the perspective that Jeff Grubb is saying, but I still feel like they'd have licensing issues regardless, but probably a lot less licensing issues with Mortal Kombat characters versus having DC sign off on Superman, Batman, Harley Quinn, you name it, with a game being published by not even WB, but an Activision, a Microsoft, etc. So that is the claim that sent everything into a frenzy yesterday afternoon, all this morning. Again, this just goes against the report that WB put out a month ago where they were saying, hey, we're not getting rid of NetherRealm Studios. So who's lying? Who's wrong? Things are always subject to change. Is it back for sale? Was WB trying to keep it low-key that they're actually trying to still sell the studios like NetherRealm? I don't know, but Jeff Grubb is reputable, he's credible, he has notoriety, he wouldn't just make a claim like this for the sake of making a claim for clicks. Like, this is coming from a podcast where he doesn't even really promote MK12 at all in the title, description, you name it. So I don't think he was doing this for clout. I think this is actually coming from what he believes is going on. So NetherRealm Studios, what are you working on? Are you actually working on Mortal Kombat 12 because you do not know if WB is going to get rid of you in the next 6, 12, 18 months? So the merger has been confirmed to be going through. Again, I don't know if we've had 110% of the details revealed yet about the merger of Discovery, but seems like everything's still not falling into place and things are still subject to change. So what do we gain from all of this? Absolutely nothing. None of this stuff is concrete. Like, there's not a definitive answer to this. We don't know what's going on. I wish I could say, oh, okay, this is 110% what they're doing, but guys, I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's so interesting to think that we might finally see the cycle stray away for what it's been for a decade now. Back in 2011, we had MK9, then we had Injustice 1, then we had MKX, then we had Injustice 2, then we had MK11, then we were gonna have Injustice 3, but maybe we just get Mortal Kombat 12, which honestly, I would be okay with. It's so funny because you think about the middle of the 2000s, it seemed like every 2 to 3 years, we were getting, you name it, new Mortal Kombat games. We had Deadly Alliance, Deception, Armageddon, that was like from 2002 to 2007. Span of like 5 years, we had 3 Mortal Kombat games. Granted, they all pretty much played the same. It was all the same, 3D era-esque gameplay, and they kind of just built on it and then took away everything in the last installment, but the same game. Could we see MK12 just be MK11 on steroids? Maybe. Interestingly enough, Injustice 1 to Injustice 2, that was just, a legacy game. What if MK12 is another legacy game that plays like MK11? We've never seen them do that in the current day and age. MK9 to X to 11, everything's been different. It's not been legacied. So, questions, more questions. And if you're still on the fence about Jeff Grubb, like I mentioned, this was on the Giant Bomb podcast, and going back to E3 2012, here's Ed Boon doing a Giant Bomb interview. And back in 2018, here's Ed Boon hanging out with the guys doing another podcast in, 2018, E3. I think this is where he said that MK11 would not be showcased at E3 that year. He said they had nothing to showcase, but they were excitedly chomping at the bit to share with us what they were working on, and that ended up being MK11. So this guy is, part of this crew that Ed Boon has associated himself with, so I don't think he would just talk sideways for no reason like that. So with that said, that is pretty much everything that went down yesterday. This whole NetherRealm Studios is working or prioritizing MK12 over Injustice 3 due to uncertainty with the WB parent company. It is what it is. I just think it's interesting because when it comes to like who owns the licensing of characters, I still feel like if they were split up, NetherRealm from WB, making a Mortal Kombat game would be just as hard as making an Injustice game, because WB, as far as I know, still owns the rights to Mortal Kombat unless they would sell the studio with the rights to Mortal Kombat, or they're going to probably have to work out a deal, and WB would just take a percentage of every game made by NetherRealm, even though they're working for a new supposed publisher like a Sony, Microsoft, etc. So there's a lot of different ways this could work out. I wish we could just fill in the details, but sadly, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But that's all I got for y'all today. What do you guys think of this? I know for me personally, I'd rather have a Mortal Kombat game just because I'm a bigger fan of Mortal Kombat than I am Injustice. Crazy to think, though, that people were demanding more DLC for MK11, and instead of giving them more DLC, it was like, just give them a new game. Like, wow, that's almost Call of Duty-esque in a lot of ways, WB. But it is what it is. Is that why we didn't get a KP3? Because they're focusing their energy on putting Havoc and Smoke and Ash Williams and Ermac and Cyrax and Sector and Mortal Kombat 12 instead. I guess we just have to wait and see. But of course, if you guys enjoyed this video, please take a second and drop a like on it. It really does help me out a ton. If you want more MK updates like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And again, if you want to see the article yourself and the Jeff Grubb interview where he breaks this down for about a minute and a half or so, to be linked in the description of this video. And I'm so sorry if I was all over the place. This is just so much stuff to break down and to explain, and honestly, it's kind of been a clusterfuck. But you know what else has been a clusterfuck? Getting MK9 on Steam. Yeah, you can no longer buy MK9 for sale on Steam. However, using the link in the description down below with G2A.com, you can actually purchase a MK9 Steam key from G2A, and then from there, redeem that key in your Steam account. And just like that, you got MK9 on your PC with every DLC character, even though it's no longer for sale with all the DLC anymore on Steam. So shout out to G2A for having your back on that. Again, what do you guys think of all of this? Let me know in the comment section down below. Love you guys. Hope you had a great weekend. And I'll see you guys in the next video.
You see, I've been a fan of Dynasty for years now. GTA, MK, and Justice, I'm still down. Rapper meets gamer, I wonder how y'all feel now. That was just a setup, watch it get real now. Okay, so me and Sub-Zero was born in 92. And lyrically, I inherited all his fighting moves. A lot of y'all still lost, don't have the slightest clue. The truth disappears in the smoke as if you fighting new. So, a lot of y'all get the